Hello ladies and gentlemen, Top Hat Gaming Man here. Today I decided that I would tackle the rather bizarre, yet I suppose amusing subject of retro gaming in the afterlife, yes. Personally, I am an atheist myself, like I believe many of you probably are within the comments section, although I would gather there's probably quite a lot of creationists amongst all of you as well. So regardless of this, even if you are atheist like myself, think of this as, I don't know, more of a creative discussion, I suppose, like, I don't know, just creative thoughts. So yes, I decided to tackle what retro gaming would be like in the afterlife, since it's never covered in any religious text, since they was all wrote thousands and thousands of years ago. So they've got nothing about gaming in them, and gaming is a very important part of modern society. So yes, according to some religions, you do get bloody loads of virgins when you go up there, but do you get computer games and video games? Who knows? So let's discuss it. So yes, let's think about it first of all. Obviously, we get region locks here on Earth, don't we? Well, at least we used to. So for example, do you get region locking in heaven as well? So if a game comes out in Europe and doesn't come out in America, how does the heaven release all tie into this? I don't know, do you? Maybe that's part of what's great about this so-called heaven, is region locking is a thing that doesn't exist. So you can simply play whatever game you want. Maybe everything's multi-region then, I suppose. What else regarding regions, I suppose as well? Sega, as a console manufacturer, they died, didn't they? So if they died, they was a good company. Did its remains as a console manufacturer end up going to heaven? So up there, does that mean there's a Dreamcast 2? Possibly a Dreamcast 3? Like, religion doesn't make much sense really, does it, when you try and put it in terms of modern context? So yes, also, do you get bad games up there? Would you get bad games in heaven? Like, for example, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a bad game. Ooh, I suppose only God can judge if a game is good or bad, but I suppose something like Action 52, for example, he would have to deem bad. Or what else is terrible? For some reason I'm having trouble thinking of bad games, because I only try and play good ones. I don't know, Mario's Missing, would that have a place in heaven? Eek the Cat on the Super Nintendo, would that have a place in heaven? I don't know, maybe you can only play good games there, or maybe the bad games are reborn up there and redeveloped into good games. Who knows? This whole thing is so bloody stupid and subjective. We could go in any direction with this. I suppose as well, many of you at home, especially those creationists amongst you, you would be saying to yourself, there's not going to be any need for bloody games in heaven. You've already reached a state of nirvana. So if you've already reached a state of ultimate happiness, why would you need games for your entertainment? That's subjective, isn't it? But personally, I find gaming one of the most relaxing things I could possibly do. So if there was like an ultimate place to live in, oh, I don't know, what do you even call them? Universes? Dimensions? If there was this like ultimate place to live, I would want there to be bloody games there. Maybe you can even be into games. Maybe they've got like the ultimate form of VR there. So you don't even have to put VR glasses on to like walk around in a game. Maybe I can actually become Super Mario and I can jump around in 8-bit glory, smashing my head into blocks, stomping on my enemies. And that brings me to another point. Violence. Do violent games have a place in heaven? What about GTA 5? Can I play as Trevor Phillips and go around killing everyone and sleeping with prostitutes? How does all of this even tie into each other? Oh, religion. It's so hard to put context to any of it, isn't it? Because it was all made thousands and thousands of years ago, before most human constructs were even come up with. So I can bring this video in any direction. God himself. Would God be a gamer? And if he was a gamer, what games would he bloody play? I suppose, thinking about it, probably God games like, I don't know, Civilization or Doshin the Love Giant, Theme Park, that sort of thing. Is Theme Park even a God game? I don't know. But yes, although this is all really fun to think about and consider, as an atheist, this is purely a creative exercise for me. Just using my imagination for a little bit. However, that brings me back to the meaning of life a little bit. I personally don't think there is any meaning behind life. However, personally, one little thing I've come to realise lately is I would perhaps like to be remembered for as long as possible. Like, there's a reason people are still talking about Tutankhamun, for example, bloody 4,000 years after he died, and that's because he created that ridiculous huge monuments to himself. Well, an amazing tomb, I suppose, and then that civilization's built all the great pyramids and stuff like that. So on a personal basis, in my afterlife, well, I say afterlife, I actually mean post-death, maybe in about 10 years from now, when I hit about 40, I should spend the last 50 years of my life constructing a retro gaming tomb for myself. So essentially, I can be put in a lovely retro gaming themed sarcophagus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and basically surrounded by walls and walls of my personal gaming collection. Because let's be honest, 60 years from now, that's when I'll be 91, and that's when I'll probably die, my games will probably be worthless, because all the other collectors will be dead or dying too, so there'd be no market for it, so there'd be games flooding everywhere, like the bloody water in Noah's Ark. There'd be games like everywhere you look, and they'll all be completely worthless, because there'd be no market to collect for them. And on top of that, disc rot would have set in too. Lots and lots of disc rot. So in all likelihood, most of those games won't work either. So personally, I would like to put the games in the tomb with myself. And yeah, basically resurrect this awesome looking tomb, which even could perhaps become a tourist attraction one day. Like, imagine that, a big, lovely themed retro gaming tomb for Top Hat Gaming Man with, say, for example, a big, massive Triforce emblem on the front of it, instead of, I don't know, a Christian cross, for example, or a Jewish star. I don't know that much about religion, I must admit. What else regarding that? So yes, for me, I just think it would be pretty a cool homage, I suppose. So yes, to all of those religious folk in my fan base, what do you think happens with bloody gaming in your afterlife? You clearly believe in an afterlife, so how does gaming tie into this whole thing? I don't know, the religious texts don't know, so who knows? Anyway, in regards to my tomb, I would perhaps like to have constructed one day. Maybe I'll even think about starting a Kickstarter campaign to help raise the hundreds of thousands of pounds what would be needed to construct such a marvel. One of the new wonders of the world. So if you would be interested in contributing to that amazing Kickstarter campaign, let me know about that in the comments section too. Even if you're an atheist, come up with some nice suggestions of if religion was actually valid, what would happen with gaming in regards to the whole thing. Anyway, this has been an interesting, if somewhat rather pointless discussion. However, we need to try and think about these things because many tropes of life don't actually make any sense, do they? Anyway, in like 60 years, we'll all be dead and our games collections will be rotting away and they will be worthless. Anyway, cheerio!